The newest member of President Trump's legal team, former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani, is in Washington today, and he's speaking at the Iran Freedom Convention for Democracy and Human Rights. This, of course, comes after his recent comments this week over who knew what and when in the Stormy Daniels controversy. Let's listen in.
It's not partisan political. It's not ideologically political. It's morally political. We're here not as Republicans or Democrats or whatever. We're here because we love freedom. And we can now smell it, right? We can see it. We can see it we could always see it in the people here and in Paris, and we can see their love of freedom. I got to see it firsthand in Albania about 2 months ago. You can see people, you can see what they can do when they live in freedom, how much more they can organize, how much more they can get information for us. They're building a beautiful city in Tirana, right on the outskirts of Tirana. Now that they don't have to worry about being slaughtered by the Iranians and the Iraqis who have become a satellite of Iran, they can do a lot of productive things. And they have now speeded up dramatically our ability to bring freedom to Iran. I really believe that it is now in sight that we will have one of these conventions in Tehran. Let me say a word about something that's going on right now, and I hope and I pray that it happens, because freedom for any oppressed people helps all of us. And there is a good chance that 3 longtime hostages in North Korea will be released over the next several days. I pray that happens, but that didn't happen accidentally. Just like your freedom isn't going to come about accidentally. We've seen people die to bring about that kind of thing in North Korea. A prisoner who was released a year or so ago who died, Mr. Wambir. What a tragedy that is. But he's a martyr like the martyrs that you've had at Liberty and Ashraf and inside of Iraq. He paved the way to freedom. And when these 3 people are released, they'll have to thank him as one of the people that brought it about. But I'll tell you the person we really have to also thank, President Donald Trump. I don't know. I have the great honor of being his good friend for 30 years, and I also have the great honor of being his attorney in something that is totally unjustified. But I wonder how it is that he can accomplish this with the tremendous distractions that he faces every single day. It's really remarkable. And it comes about for the same reasons that you can and I can, because there's nothing that's more important than bringing freedom and liberating good people like the people of Iran. The protests that started in January of this year are now all over Iran. You heard Bill say 142 cities and growing. Now, that wouldn't have happened before, because when the protests started, as you know, Ali Reza, when the protests started, and we were so hopeful that they'd take off 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, well, the president at the time turned his back on the freedom fighters. And people died because he did that. Just like he turned his back on the people of Syria after he drew the line and they died from chemical weapons. Well, President Trump's reaction to both very different. In the case of Syria, they crossed the red line and he bombed them. And the little cowards, and he had to stand up not just to puny little Assad, but he had to stand up to Russia and Putin, and he did. And they went back into their little holes where they belong. They belong in little holes in the ground. That was made for them, without any food, because I don't think they eat. I don't like them very much. But what I'm really impressed with is how different it was when President Trump did not what President Obama did, turn his back, but did what my hero, President Reagan, did. He said to them, he didn't send troops, he didn't send arms, he didn't send airplanes. He just said a couple of simple words. We support their fight for freedom. That's what Ronald Reagan did in Poland. That's what Ronald Reagan did in Poland. And it became the Solidarity movement, and it became a free Poland, and the Iron Curtain came down, and the Soviet Union was gone. Not a single person had to die. We've already had people have to die. But no more. We've got a president who's tough, a president who doesn't listen to the people who are naysayers, and a president that is as committed to regime change as we are. And with Secretary of State Pompeo now on his right hand and his national security advisor, John Bolton, you remember John Bolton, on his left side. What do you think is going to happen to that agreement? That nuclear agreement? Yep. Sanctions back. With that gone and sanctions back, we have a real chance of escalating these protests. It hasn't really helped Iran as much as we thought it would, having the sanctions lifted, because their economy is basically a thoroughly corrupt economy. The only people getting wealthy in Iran are the mullahs and Rouhani and Khamenei and all the people who cooperate with them. Everybody else is poor now. People who used to be middle class and wealthy are now poor. And you think they're going to take that for much longer? They're your brothers and sisters. They are not going to take that for very much longer. So my guess is this is going to happen faster than people think. And we have something very different here. Unlike what we had in some of the other countries like Egypt and Libya, we didn't know who was going to replace Mubarak, Gaddafi. You know, Mubarak wasn't bad at all, and Gaddafi had become neutered. He'd given up his weapons of mass destruction. He really was sent into a cave by Ronald Reagan when Reagan put bombs on his head. Not a bad thing to do with Assad, by the way. So we didn't know what we were going to get, and in both cases, terrible things happened. We ended up with a Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. We ended up with chaos, Benghazi, thanks to Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. I have a hard time saying that word without several adjectives that I use to help elect President Trump, but I'm going to refrain from that because she did sign the document that acknowledged that we're not terrorists. Thanks, Hillary. From you, I don't even know if the document is worth the paper it's written on, but that's okay. So I would like to make it clear, here's the alternative. It's right in front of you. We saw her, Madam Rajavi, right there. How about more women in this audience than men? That's the only reason I'm here. I see the man with a smile on his face, that beautiful woman next to him. I saw that immediately, that, you know, a lot of people think Madam Rajavi is like a figurehead as a woman, because it's so unusual that an organization like this, a woman would be in charge. But when you go and meet her in Paris, and you go to the compound, or you go to Albania, and you see the women are in the leadership roles as much, if not more, than the men, you realize this is for real. When their 10 principles include the rights of women, they don't just say it, they live it, maybe even more than we do in the U.S. What a great example. What a great example for our allies like Saudi Arabia and the Emirates. What a great example for our enemies like Iran and some of the other countries where women are subjected to horrible things, close to slavery. What a wonderful thing for us as Americans to see the rights of women. And what a wonderful thing for fathers who have daughters and mothers who have daughters to see that even in Iran, women can go right to the very top and be the best. A wonderful thing that you're bringing us. That's why I think when Madam Rajavi comes here, the fact that she's a woman will mean so